So you may have noticed that we use the same selector several times because we have to add it inside each of these media queries. It seems like it would actually be better if we could throw the media queries inside of this selector so we only had to use the selector once and then set the media queries inside of it. Well, CSS won't allow us to do that, but there is a SASS extension called breakpoint that will allow us to do this. So let's go ahead and get that. I'm going to do a quick search in Google for SASS breakpoint. We'll head to the page here. It gives us a quick example of how it works. So here, instead of having the media query on the outside, the breakpoint is on the inside, and that will be converted to a media query when it gets rendered as SASS. Now I'm going to jump to the GitHub page, and then I'm going to jump to the full documentation on the wiki so we can look at the installation here. So it tells us the preferred way to install and use breakpoint is through bundler. We set up bundler earlier, so we can go ahead and use that. It also tells us that we can install it through Bower as well. Well, since we can use the preferred method, let's do that. So I'm going to copy this line right here, and let's jump to the File Explorer, and let's open up our gem file, and let's add a gem for breakpoint. All right, I'll save this. And then it says once we've done that, we should be able to run bundle install. And so let's go to the terminal here. Let's make sure that we're in our directory for our project, and we'll do bundle install. Okay, so we got an error here. So it says it could not find compatible versions for SASS. So we have SASS 3.4.13 installed, and then in our 3 packages, SASS globbing needs SASS version 3.1 or above, and breakpoint needs the latest version of 3.3. So the tilde arrow just means that if there's 3 numbers here, to update to the latest patch version. So if we do a quick search in Google for breakpoint SASS 3.4, we'll find that there are other people that have had this issue as well. I'm going to jump to this first result. If we read through this, it's basically going to say that an earlier version of breakpoint only worked with version 3.3, but then here at this point it says breakpoint 2.5 resolves this issue. Somebody else had a problem, and then Snugug posted that it should work if you use breakpoint 2.5.0. So we had copied our version from the documentation, but perhaps it's out of date at this point. So let's go back to our gem file, and let's change this to 2.5.0. We'll save it, and we'll try to install again. It's requiring a password. All right, this looks a lot better. So now we can look at the documentation for how to use this. All right, if we look at the using breakpoint section, it says that we should add the following to our config.rb file, and it says require breakpoint. Now, whenever you see this, especially followed by this import breakpoint, this pair of require and import usually indicates a dependency on Compass. So we've talked about Compass a little bit and how it comes bundled with a lot of tools that we can use within SASS, but that can slow down the compile time of your SASS into CSS. So if we want to use it this way, the way that we installed it as a gem with bundler, then we're going to have to use Compass as well. If we look through the documentation a bit more, it turns out that we could install it with Bower and not have to use Compass at all. But I think we're at the point in this series where it makes sense to look at how to use Compass, because it's likely that you may end up using extensions eventually that will depend on it. So let's see how this works.